For question 1, which of the following is not a topic studied in macroeconomy? We have A, gross domestic product. B, we have the unemployment rate. C, the price of IBM computers. And then D, the inflation rate. Now, when we talk about macroeconomy, it's a branch of economy that deals with the structure, performance, behavioral decision making of the whole or aggregate economy. What we are trying to say is that for macroeconomy, it talks about the combination of several elements in an economy. Are you okay? So looking at this, gross domestic product is the measure of the total production in an economy. So this one talks about the total production in an economy. And then when we are talking about unemployment rate, we are talking about the people that are not employed in the whole economy, and then inflation, the overall price increase in an economy. So looking at this, the answer will be C, the price of. Here we are talking about individual. Are you okay? So the answer will be C. So let's look at the second question. Which of the following is a topic studied in macroeconomy? You have gross domestic product. I just talked about that. Gross domestic product is the overall measure of growth of goods and services in the economy. So the answer will be A. Are we okay? Wages of auto workers, amount of pizza produced, and then the price of. These are all individual. So these are all under macro, and this is under macro. Are we okay? So the third question. Which of the following is a topic studied in macroeconomy? So let me go to the answer straight. So it's B, aggregate behavior of household and industry. So when you talk about aggregate behavior, we are talking about what? The combination of several elements in an economy. Are you okay? So when you combine these together, it becomes a macroeconomy. Are you okay? So the answer will be B. So let's look at the fourth question. We have price that do not always adjust rapidly to maintain equality between quantity supply and quantity demand are A, administered prices. B, we have sticky prices. C, we have regulatory prices. And then D, we have market prices. Now I'm going to explain all the options and then we choose our answer. Now when we talk about administered prices, we are talking about a price of goods and services dictated by the government. When the price of goods and services is dictated by the government, we say it's what? Administered prices. The same applies to the regulatory prices too. Are you okay? So when we talk about market price, is the current price at which services or goods can be bought and sold. The current price. Now when we talk about sticky price, it's hardly adjusts to change in the price of goods and services. So when a goods is hardly adjust in an economy, we say it's a sticky price in an economy. Are you okay? So the answer will be what? Sticky price. So when the price is hardly adjust in an economy, we say it's a sticky price. Are you okay? Let's look at the question 5. Now, the demand for corn has increased in May without any change in supply. 8 months later, there still has been no change in corn price. Are we okay? This is an example of it will be a sticky price. Are we okay? When the price remain unchanged. Are you okay? So our answer will be C, which is a sticky price. Are you okay? Because there has been no change in the price for a very long time, so we say it's a sticky price. So question 6. The demand for massage therapies declined in the spring of 2007, but the starting wages paid to the massage therapists was still the same at the end of 2007. This is an example of what? A sticky price. It's the same sticky price. The price remain unchanged. Are you okay? It's hardly adjust in the economy. So let's look at question 7. An increase in the overall price level is called inflation. Are you okay? Inflation. When there is inflation, the price level in an economy will be increased. Are you okay? So the answer is C. Now, aggregate behavior. First of all, let's talk about aggregates. When you talk about aggregates, what are we trying to say? We are trying to say, what we are trying to mean is that the combination of several separate elements. When we combine several separate elements, then we are talking about aggregates. Are you okay? So you're looking at this, the behavior of each. Are you okay? This is talking about each, and this is also talking about each individual. So these are talking about macro. Are you okay? Individual. But for aggregate, we talk about what? Combination of what? Different elements. So looking at the C, the behavior of all household and firm together. So answer will be what? C. Are you okay? So we are combining what? All household and firms together. That will be aggregate behavior. So let's look at 9. Question 9. Inflation is we know that inflation is what? Inflation is an increase in an overall price level in an economy. So the answer will be C. Now question 10. Deflation occurs when this is the opposite of what? Inflation. So it will be what? When the average price level declines. Are you okay? Inflation when there is what? Overall price increase in an economy. So deflation will be what? The opposite of that, which will be what? When the average price level declines. Are you okay? So the answer is what? A. Now, before we move on to question 11, let's look at business cycle. So I'll explain what this graph is. So this is a business cycle graph. We plot national output against time. Are you okay? So this is our economy. Are you okay? So when the economy begins to recover and grow, we call it what? Upturn or trough. Are you okay? So when the economy begins to grow, it says what? Upturn or trough. Now, for expansion, when there's rapid economic growth, when the economy is growing, it says expansion. That means things in the economy becomes to get better and well. Now, picking out. For picking out, growth try towards cease or slow down. Are you okay? The economy will decline a little, or there will be no growth in the economy. Now, for recession, when the economy begins to decline, that means the overall price level in the economy will also what? Decline. We say it's what? Recession. Also, the length of a business cycle. When you want to check the length of a business cycle, we consider from what? Trough to what? Trough. So this will be our length of a business cycle, or we consider the peak to peak. So when they ask to calculate the what? The length of the business cycle, you either consider the upturn from upturn or the peak to peak. That will determine our what? Length of business cycle. So let's continue with our question. So we are on question 11. A period of very rapid increase in overall price level is known as, when there's a rapid increase in overall price level. Now, to explain this further, when things are getting bad in an economy, there will be a high price level increase, and when that price level increases rapidly, that means goes in the economy begins to get higher, the price will get higher. We call it a hyperinflation. inflation. Are you okay? Call it hyperinflation. So question 11. The period of very rapid increase in the overall price level is known as hyperinflation. When you talk about stagnation, we are talking about lack of growth in an economy. Are we okay? When we are talking about stagflation, we are calling that due to this occurred due to a slow economic growth and a rapid price increase. Are you okay? So we are talking about depression. When you're talking about this, when goods and services are going down, the economy is going bad. Talk about depression. But when there's a rapid increase in overall price level, you say the economy is a hyperinflation. So let's continue with question 12. The trend of an economy is a long question. The answer is A. It's a long round growth path of an economy. So looking at this, a long run growth path. Are you okay? So they are just referring to the graph. It's a long run growth path of an economy. So that's the trend of an economy. So question 13. The term business cycle refers to. What can you say about business cycle? The graph here. You can say it's short from here to here, something short, and the extension is something short. Are you okay? It's just a short terms in an economy. So looking at the questions, the term business cycle refers to. I'll just go straight to the answer. It will be short-term ups and downs. You see, when the growth try to begin, things are getting well and things are going bad. They are all short runs in an economy. So it's what? Short term. The answer is short term ups and down in the level of economic activities. Are you okay? So question 14. Question 14. A period during which aggregate output rises is known as. A period. Question 14. A period during which aggregate output rises is known as. So looking at this, when economy begins to grow, and then there's a rapid growth, we call it expansion. So the aggregate output rises is known as expansion. That means the economy try to get better, it's rising. Are you okay? So we call it expansion. And when the economy try to go down, we call it recession. Are you okay? When the economy is going down, we call it recession. Okay. Question 15. The period when the economy shrinks is known as. When the economy shrinks, then we refer to that economy as, is it recession, contraction, slump? All of this happens when the economy begins to go bad. Are you okay? That means things will get bad in the economy. Recession is one, slump is one, contraction is one. You can get these meanings in the dictionary. So the answer is all of the above. So question 16. In a business cycle, the peak represents the end of. So when you're talking about the peak represents what? The peak represents the end of expansion. Are you okay? And what? Dash, and then the trough represent the end of what? Where the trough represent the end of what? Recession. So this will be another trough, this recession. So this is the end of recession, we are getting this, and the end of what? Expansion, we are getting peak. So the answer will be A. So in a business cycle, the peak represents the end of what? Expansion, and then the trough represent the end of recession. Are you okay? So the answer is A. Question 17. In a business cycle, the peak represents the end of what? Expansion, repetition of question. Question 18. In a business cycle, the trough represent the end of what? Recession. Are we okay? So, question 19. It has become conventional to classify an economic downturn as a recession when aggregate output declines for, I'll just go straight to the answer, 2 consecutive quarters. We are talking about 2 consecutive quarters. Then when the economy becomes conventionally to classify the economic downturn as a recession, we say it's what? 2 consecutive quarters. Are we okay? So question 20. If the labor force is 500 and then employment is 450, then the unemployment rate is. Now, to calculate unemployment rate, we divide. What we do is that we take unemployment by labor force. When we divide unemployment by labor force, then we say we are calculating what? Unemployment rate. Okay, sometimes we multiply by what? 100. When you talk about labor force, it's the addition of employment and what? Unemployment workers. Are we okay? So let's try and solve this. Now, if the unemployment, question 20, if the labor force is, we have the labor force to be 500 and then employment to be 450. Now calculate unemployment rate. Now to calculate unemployment rate will be unemployment over what? The labor force. And we know the labor force to be 500. So we know when we add employment and unemployment, you get labor force. So we are going to subtract 450 from 500. So when you deduct this from this, you are getting 50 over 500. So multiply by 100. So this will cancel, this will cancel, and this will cancel. So it will left with what? 10%. That means what? 10. The unemployment rate is what? 10%. Are you okay? So the answer is C. Now question 21. A prolonged and deep recession is called. When there is a prolonged and deep recession, we say it's a what? A depression. I think that's okay. It's a depression. So our question 22. Now, between a drop and a peak, the economy goes through. Between trough and a peak, this is the trough and then the peak. What does this mean? What happens between the upturn and then the peak? There's what? Expansion. Are you okay? So the answer is C. There's always an expansion between the trough and then a peak. Are you okay? So question 23. Between a peak and a trough, the economy goes through. Between a peak and the upturn. So this is an upturn or a trough, and then a peak is what happened? There's what? A recession. Are you okay? So the answer is what? C. So what do you mean by unemployment? Question 24. So the answer is A. At a going wage rate, there are people who want to work but cannot find work. People are willing to work but they can't get work at a given wages. So we call that unemployment. Are you okay? But when people are not unwilling to work and there is no work in the economy, it not refers to those people as unemployment people. It refers to them as what? Employed people, because they are willing not to work in an economy. Are you okay? So we don't refer to those people as unemployment people. So the answer is what? A. At a going wage rate. Don't forget this. Unemployment. At a going wage rate, there are people who want to work but cannot find work. That refers to those people as what? Unemployment people. So question 25. Question 25. Unemployment implies that in a labor market, there's excess supply of labor. Are you okay? When there's excess supply of unemployment and then employment, we call that. So we mean to that what? Unemployment in an economy. Are you okay? So question 25. Unemployment implies that in a labor market, there's an excess supply of labor. When there's an excess supply of labor, refers to that as unemployment. Are you okay? People won't get job in the economy. Are you okay? Question 26. The unemployment rate equals, unemployment rate equals what? Employment over what? Unemployment plus what? Employment plus what? Unemployment. So it refers to employment plus unemployment as what? Labor force. So unemployment rate is employment over what? Labor force. So the answer is D. Looking at this, so to get unemployed people, we deduct what? Employ from what? The labor to get what? Unemployment. Divide by what? The labor. Are you okay? So when you deduct this from this, we are getting unemployment. Are you okay? And we divide by what? The labor force. So we get what? Unemployment rate. So to calculate employment rate, so what do? We divide what? Employment over what? Labor force. That is the difference. When it's employment that we are calculating the rate, we divide the employment over what? The labor. When it's unemployment rate, we divide what? Unemployment over what? Labor force. Okay. So question 27. The unemployment rate equals what? Let's look at this. It will be what? Unemployed over what? Labor force. Are you okay? Employment. It will be what? Unemployed over what? Labor force. No. Number 20. Question 28. If the labor force is 50 million, are you okay? The labor force is 50 million. That means what? Addition of what? Employment and what? Unemployed people. Are you okay? It gives us what? 50 million. And 48 million are what? Employed. Are you okay? So among a labor force of 50 million, 48 are what? Employed. That means what? 2 million are what? Unemployed. Are you okay? That means what? 2 million are what? Unemployed. Now we are asked to calculate the unemployment rate. Are you okay? But we know that 2 millions are unemployed, so we divide this by what? The labor force, which is what? 50. So we multiply by what? 100. So you use calculator to do that. 2 divided by what? 50. Then we multiply by 100. We are getting 4%. Are you okay? We are getting 4%. So the answer is what? B. Are you okay? So here we are not giving the unemployed, but we are giving what? Employed and what? Labor force. So when you do that, employed from what? Labor force, we get what? Our unemployed. So let's go to question 29. if 20 million workers are unemployed and 180 million workers are what employed, then you have what 20 million workers which are unemployed and then 180 million workers which are what employed. Then we are asked to calculate what unemployment rate. Unemployment rate, we know that it's what unemployed divided by what the labor force. Now here our unemployed workers are what 20 millions. 20 million. Are you okay? Our unemployed workers are what 20 million. Are you okay? So we divide this by what the labor force. You know, to get the labor force, you have to add what unemployed plus what employed workers. Are you okay? So here we add 20 million to what 180 million. So we are getting what 200 million. Are you okay? So we multiply this by what? We multiply this by what? 100. Are you okay? So when we divide, so 20 divided by what? 200. Then after that we multiply by what? 100. So we are getting 10%. That's our what? Employment rate. 10% is our what? Unemployment rate. So here, in case we are asked to calculate our what? Employment rate, we are going to divide what? 180. We are going to divide what? 180 by what? 200 to get our what? Employment rate. Okay, question 30. The period in a business cycle from trough to peak is called. Now, in a business cycle, when we consider from what trough to peak, that means what from trough or upturn to what peak, this period is what is called what expansion. That means there's growth in what in an economy. Things are getting better in an economy. So we refers to that as what expansion. Are you okay? From what trough to what peak in a business cycle. Question 31. If output is rising and unemployment is falling, output is rising and unemployment is falling, well, what can we say about that economy? Things are getting better, right? The outputs are getting better, and then what people are getting job. So what will happen? There's what an expansion. There's what a growth in an economy. In that economy, are you okay? So there's what an expansion. So question 32, and this is our last question. So question 32. A period in a business cycle from the peak to the trough is, I think this is what, this is the same as question 29, right? A period in a business cycle from the peak to the trough is known as what? Recession. Are you okay? From the peak to the trough or the upturn is what? Recession. That's what happens. There's what? A decline in the economy. That means goods and services are going bad. There's bad economy, things are not getting bad in the economy. That's what it refers to recession. And at this period, there's what a high price level of goods and services in the economy. And if the prices are going higher, we call it what hyperinflation. Are you okay? So this is our last question. Thank you, guys.